Positive, right? Now I want to tell you guys a thing here. I got this book, How to Make People Like You in Less Than 90 Seconds, written by Nicholas Boothman, right? Boothman writes this book. It's a real simple little book. He's a psychologist, photographer, does a lot of different things. Boothman writes this book. He goes to New York City. He wants to sell his book. He wants to get a review written on his book. Goes to the New York Times. Now, why would he want a review written?
People will read it.
Make people want to buy his book, right? They're going to read the review and want to buy it. So he asked the reporter, would he write a book about him? He said, I will write the book only if you will go out in the streets of Manhattan, talk to 3 different groups of people, and then I'm going to interview them after 90 seconds. If they like you, then I will write the review on your book. If they don't like you, then it's done. I'm not writing the review. He said, well, that's not what I had in mind, but okay. So he goes out in the streets of New York City, and the first people he goes up to are the police officers, the cops, right? And one of the cops in New York City are downtown Manhattan, and they're leaning against the side of the building, and they got their arms up, kind of looking for the bad guys, you know, that type of thing. So Boothman comes up. Now, if you open your hands a little bit, it's disarming. When you've got your hands closed, that's guarded, right? When you open your heart up, it's disarming. So he walks up, sees the cop, makes eye contact. Now you want to make eye contact, but break eye contact, right? I don't want to be like, because you know, oh, you're goofy, dude. Like, back up, right? So you want to make eye contact and break eye contact, right? I did a keynote address in Mystic Lake Grand Ballroom last Friday. 1,000 people. And I'm trying to make eye contact with each one. Because you connect you, right? Goes up, does that. And then, casually, subtly, as he's talking to the police officer, he crosses his arm. And then he starts to put his foot up like this. And then he starts to nod his head. And he's like, yeah. And so, when they get done, the reporter goes up and he asks the cop, did you like that guy? And he said, yeah, I liked him. And he said, why? He said, I don't know. Just something about him. So he went to Boothman. He said, how do you do that? I mean, they were best friends, but he liked him. He said, how do you do that? And there's many different things he uses, but one of the main things he uses, he creates similarity. He becomes like that person, right? That's where it's all at. If I can become like you, you're gonna feel comfortable, right? What do you think the politicians do? If they're in a debate, right, they're wearing a suit like this, wearing a big suit. Now, if they go to the farm fields in Iowa, are they wearing a suit? No, they're wearing what? Jeans, flannel shirt, boots, whatever. And then they walk in the coffee house and they'll turn the chair around backwards. How you doing? Yeah. Why is that? Because they want that farmer to fill a bond. Vote for me. I'm like you. I'm sitting right here, chair backward. Yeah. They're trying to create a bond, right? You think Obama or McCain, if they get elected president, they're going to go in the Oval Office and turn the chair around and sit down on a flannel shirt? Probably not. But they're trying to create a bond. And it works. And I'll tell you, you don't want to mimic accents or dialects. Right? That would be a little obvious if you did that. If you went down, now we talk different in Minnesota than they do in Atlanta or Georgia, right? So you probably wouldn't want to go down to Atlanta, Georgia, and walk into a Perkins or something down in Atlanta, and there's the hostess there, and she says, how y'all doing? Why don't you come on in and sit down? And you don't want to look back and go, not too good, they're going to kill me, got flipped on the car last night. Yeah, she's going to be like, whatever. She's going to know you're making fun. I'm talking subtle things. I used to have a friend that used to do it all the time. He would go call in accounts. And I don't necessarily agree with this, but he would call in accounts. And there was a couple accounts that no matter what he did, he knew they wouldn't buy from him. No matter what he did, they just wouldn't. But his boss made him call in the accounts anyway. And he would go in these accounts. He would sit across from the buyer, who he knew was never going to buy it. He wanted to sell the buyer something. And he would sit across like this. And as he's sitting there, every so often, real subtly, he would look at that person and he would go. And then, by the time the end of the meeting, he'd go walking out and he'd look and that buyer would be running to the bathroom like, what's on my face? What's on my face? That little stuff works. It makes a difference. It does. Now, what I want to talk about, and I want to get into the motivators. These are the 7 key motivators. I want to get through this real quick. First of all, you can turn that down for a sec. But